In the dating world, sadly, purity has gone the way of payphones. But one neo-virgin is on a campaign to bring it back.
Meet Carrie Lloyd. She was 23 and a virgin. After her father died, Carrie lost her way, her faith, and her virginity. Years later, Carrie learned how to live out her faith as a single Christian.
I was still in this 5-year relationship, and halfway through I decided I was going to stop having sex.
In her book, Prude, Carrie shares why she chooses to live a life of abstinence and the lessons about practical dating that every single person needs to know.
Please welcome to the 700 Club author and pastor Carrie Lloyd. Carrie, it's a pleasure to meet you.
And you, lovely to meet you.
I'm loving your book, Prude, Misconceptions of a Neo-Virgin. Reading your book, you're anything but a prude, but I'm very curious about the title and the meaning of Neo-Virgin.
Well, prude was something that I was called when I was a kid, mainly because I was holding out until marriage, and everyone else in my vicinity was basically teasing me for wanting to hold out until marriage, and none of my other friends were Christians. So we kind of decided, I like twisting on words, and prude seemed to be the perfect thing to call it.
Absolutely, it does get your attention. Well, you remained a virgin until you were 23, so you got through the college years.
I did fairly well.
Well done. But then what happened?
Well, I think I lost a little hope, really, because, like I was saying, everyone around me, they didn't believe in sex before marriage, and I would have people standing behind me in nightclubs going, they're not going to wait, they're not going to wait, they're not going to wait. So I just got to a point where I just went, I don't know whether anyone else is up for this as much as I was. And my parents had a great marriage, and they both saved themselves until marriage, and they sold the idea really well to me. And but I didn't really have a very strong relationship with the Lord. I was religious, but I didn't have a relationship with God. And so
and
when
that was the year that your dad died too.
The year of my, yeah, exactly. So when I was about 23, my father died very suddenly, and then a consecutive 4 other people around me died. And so I just lost a lot of hope. I was questioning suffering all of a sudden, and I became a very angry atheist. And on that journey, I finally met someone that was actually willing to wait for marriage. And yet I decided that I was just going to give up the ghost, if that makes sense.
So during your 20s, you were sexually active and had many relationships in your 20s. What did you discover at the end of all this?
Yeah, well, I had 3 sexual long-term relationships, and until probably, and I was kind of just living life as most of the 20s were. I enjoyed it on some parts, but I felt pretty empty at the same time. I knew that there was more, but I wasn't surrounded by a culture that was kind of looking for more. So I think I was living a life that I thought was meaningful, and yet somewhere down the line, somewhere between my atheism and finding faith again, I actually decided to start looking again at what purity meant.
Yeah, what was the turning point? You were in a relationship with this guy and sexually active, and then suddenly you say, honey, we're not going to have sex anymore. How did he take that?
Poor guy. Yeah, it definitely took a few days for him to go, OK. I did actually give him an exit if he wanted to. Because I realised he stayed around, and we had another 2 years of a relationship. And I think, but what it did was actually started to show in our relationship where the cracks were, and that we didn't actually have the same core values about things. And I would say that's one of the things about purity that I actually love. And it's actually made me feel far more liberal than ever before, which is what people are quite surprised by, because people see self-discipline as some kind of form of boundary that we don't, that is suffering in some way. But actually, for me, it's been very liberating to know that I can now make conscious decisions about emotional attachments with people, and I'm not exceeding the level of intimacy with trust, if that makes sense.
Well, you are now in your 30s and not dating right now.
No.
But how does your stance and being abstinent affect your relationships with men today?
Well, fortunately, I'm in a culture, Bethel Church. A lot of us, all of us, believe in the same thing.
Right, so it makes it easier.
I don't have to have that conversation on date 3 where someone's asking for an exit because they've just discovered that I've decided to be pure until marriage. So that in itself is just a breeze now. I wish I'd been in this environment when I was 23. I think maybe things would have been quite different. But having said that, it's still a journey of knowing how to be pure. And I work in the secular world an awful lot as well. So it's definitely a talking point at dinner. That's for sure.
Right. Well, after you decided, okay, no more sex, you actually got into pornography, Carrie.
Yeah, that's...
How did that happen?
Hypocritical on some, on some aspects.
Well, you thought you were helping the situation.
Well, I thought it wasn't going to harm anyone else. I didn't think it harmed me or anyone else. If I looked at pornography, that would basically savor my sexual desires, and that I wasn't actively doing anything physical with anybody else. That was the lie that I was telling myself.
How did you figure out this is harming me and it is potentially harmful for future relationships?
I think I just had a moment where I just went, you know, I think if I saw this in the flesh, I'd scream. And it develops this sort of Pavlovian effect. The more we watch it, the more shocked we want to be by it. So we were seeing more and more graphic images, which are just so damaging for the brain. And I had an animalistic viewpoint all of a sudden of sex, which is not how the Lord wanted things to be. And so I think that, along with I was starting to do more mission work with sex trafficked victims and watching the pain and the effects of actually pornography and what it's doing to the world. And actually, it was just disconnecting me and my boyfriend at the time.
Yeah. Well, what do you say? You're a pastor and a speaker. What do you say to singles who want purity in their life, but they've already messed up and they don't think they can turn back, or they don't think it's possible?
Yeah, I think we've got to get rid of this lie of thinking, oh, well, I've given this away to somebody already, then there's no point in holding back anymore. I believe in if we feel that we want to lead a liberal and pure life and we want to live a holistic life for the Lord, then there's never too late to start again and to be exclusive. And it's actually, purity isn't the rights and wrongs so much of the stance, the posture of what we have our heart towards someone else and the giving towards someone rather than the taking towards someone. So I would suggest that if people have got a past history of this like me, getting rid of the shame and forgiving ourselves as much as the other people that we might have taken advantage of or they've taken advantage of us, and inviting honour back into our lives again, into relationships, so we can start making more coherent answers to relationships.
Well, our society and everything on TV and all the movies and everything is so overly sexualized that wouldn't it be nice if the pendulum swings back and we go back to a time where purity is sexy, purity is what's attractive, and that is actually, I believe, starting to happen, and people like you are helping that to come back into fashion, Carrie. So thank you. I am so enjoying this. You are a very clever and entertaining writer as well as very insightful and anything but a prude, but I love the title. Well, Carrie's book is called Prude, Misconceptions of a Neo-Virgin, and it's available wherever books are sold.